So the first ever gig I went to was in 1992. I was 12 years old, and I went to see Dr. Feelgood at Lincoln Castle, and it was one of the most exciting gigs I've ever been to. It was brilliant. I managed to get into the front row, and I remember standing there and they were playing. I thought it was amazing. And then they started the Milk and Alcohol song, and the crowd went nuts. And I remember standing there, and just as the guitar solo started, I remember it being so loud and my ears were killing. And then a huge fight broke out behind me, and loads of people were fighting. And it was me, 12 years old, thinking this is fucking brilliant. And everybody was smacking each other. There was blood all over. And then a security guard grabbed hold of me, pulled me out, and took me into the round the back where the caravan was that the band was staying in. And I sat there for the rest of the gig. And then afterwards, Lee Brillo came out from after they finished the gig, and he saw me and he bought me a pint, and he plonked it down in front of me on the table and said, "Here you are, lad." And I sat there and I drank a pint with Lee Brillo, and it was probably one of the best nights I've ever had. Also, that same year, 1992, I was 12 years old. So I thought, my mate lived in Donington, and Iron Maiden were doing their Fear of the Dark tour, and they were playing at Castle Donington at the Monsters of Rock, I think it was. So we concocted this grand idea that we were going to break into Castle Donington and go and see him play. So I went to arranged with his mum and dad to stay at his pub in Donington. I went there, and so we said, right, we're going to do it. And it got to the night, and we went all the way to Donington and tried to break in. Turns out it's really fucking hard. You can't get in. So we could never get to see Iron Maiden, and I was absolutely gutted. So what we did, we walked back home, and we were a bit deflated by then, and we came across a building site. And as we got to the building site, we thought, let's have a look around, and we found a steamroller, and the steamroller had the keys in. So instead of seeing Iron Maiden, we destroyed a building site with a steamroller. Then we walked home to his mum and dad's pub, broke into the fag machine that his mum and dad owned. I don't know why we did that. And then we just spent the rest of the night pretending we really enjoyed smoking.
Well, I was playing in bands well before I went to see any. I was too young really to go out into pubs and things like that. So I basically was playing my bass and listening to stuff all the time. But the first band I did actually go and see after I've been playing was probably Mega City 4, who were fucking incredible. Really good band. Energy, the tones they had. I seem to remember having JCM 900s in Twin, and they just blew me off my fucking feet. They were amazing, and I was like, wow, this is awesome. Like my first gig, I was only young. My first gig I'm going to see, it's fucking brilliant. I'm just caught up in it, and it's wonderful. And it was with Oz from can't remember his fucking band's name now. Oz anyway.
First gig I ever went to, I've got a vague recollection of being a kid at Butlins and seeing Black Lace. Right. No one saw that shit coming, right? But to balance it up, at Butlins I also saw Status Quo as a kid, which kind of balanced it a little bit, at least, maybe. But the first gig I actually ever went to myself, I think I was 16 or 17, I didn't go to a gig until then, and it was Sum 41. I was going right through my little skater pop punk phase, and it was Sum 41, American Hi-Fi, and the Mighty Boss Tones. I don't know how the Mighty Boss Tones got on that with Sum 41, but it was a brilliant gig. It was at the Ice Arena, or Motor Point, whatever it's called now, and it was just brilliant. Loved it. Loved being in the crowd. And
So my first ever gig was in 1989 in November. I went to the Grind Crusher tour at Rock City, which was Napalm Death, Carcass, Bolt Thrower and Morbid Angel. And it was fucking brilliant. It was like the first time I'd ever been to Rock City, and it was like a thrash extravaganza, and it was nothing I'd ever seen before. The guitarist from Morbid Angel, the guitarist, I think he had his entire pedal board dragged into the audience by a stage diver, which you were allowed to have back then. And he refused to play until they at least handed his Proco Rat back to him. The rest of it was like superfluous, didn't need any of that, just the Rat. And I remember going with a friend of mine called George, and we basically met at the gig, and we had the choice. We could either watch the first two bands and then get a train home, or watch all four bands and work it all out later on, which of course is what we did. So we ended up walking around Nottingham till 4 o'clock in the morning in November in t-shirts, looking for the A60 to Loughborough, which is where he lived at the time, before eventually going to the police station, which was opposite the railway station, and walking in and essentially saying, let us sleep here or we'll get arrested, and then you'll have to put us in a cell and make us a cup of tea in the morning. So the desk sergeant was just, stay over there, don't move. We got 2 hours sleep, got the train, he went back to Loughborough, I went home, and I was just like, if all gigs are like this, this is the future. This is it for me. So yeah, what a belter to start with.